In the third installment of our MetroPhotog server series, we're going to be talking all about choosing your critical components, your board, processor, RAM, and even a video card. Welcome back to this MetroPhotog series on building your SOHO server. My name is Joe from MetroPhotog.com, and in this video, the third installment, we're going to be talking all about choosing your critical components, starting with your motherboard, choosing the right processor, the RAM that's going to be working for that system, and if you need a video card or not. And I'm going to be telling you all the components that I've chosen for our system and why. So the first step you're going to need to do is choose the class of machine that you need. Do you need true server hardware? Are you going to be running virtualization or different services that need to be run, whether it's a web server, a wiki server, different types of services that you need for your system? Is it going to be something that's going to be handling a lot of email, a lot of, like I said before, web services, and file sharing, a lot of different things all together? You might need to go with server hardware depending upon what your needs are. If you're like us, the primary focus of our server is going to be for file sharing. So we're going to be using desktop hardware. And for file sharing, there's not a lot of overhead and a lot of system resources that need to be used. So you could even get away with mobile hardware, which could be used. But fitting into cases and making sure that you have the right compatibility with all your power supplies, so on and so forth. Really, the easiest and the most cost-effective way to go with a class is a desktop system. The desktop system allows you to use, run-of-the-mill power supplies, run-of-the-mill cases, RAM, hard drives, all the things that are out there for you in your local retail stores or even on easily accessible website retail stores. So for server hardware, if you need something a little bit more to accommodate virtualization or whatever have you, that set of hardware is there. And there's also mobile if you're really light, if you're just going to be doing media streaming. A lot of the AMD embedded systems and even Intel Atoms are fully capable nowadays of streaming content. So we chose a desktop server environment for us, and then you have to choose a manufacturer. There's this big war between Intel and AMD, which is better, which is more cost effective, so on and so forth, and I'm not going to debate that. Right now, my primary desktop is an Intel 1366 socket platform with an i7-930 in it, and at the time that was probably the best bang for your buck for a workstation, for a desktop. It's an enthusiast system, which is really great for what I do with not only just the pictures but also the video and a lot of the other CAD modeling and stuff I like to do on the computer. So I do support Intel, and I do think Intel has some of the best systems out there, but for the processor, cost and versus performance, I've really always liked AMD. AMD has a great set of hardware for the budget-minded people. And AMD has this new system in the last few years called the FX platform. And the FX platform is really nice because they've taken a different approach of looking at modules versus cores, and modules working together in the chips, and really having a lot of the same types of technologies that Intel has had, and really was ahead of Intel for a long time there. So right now they're playing a little bit of catch up, but looking at what your needs are versus what your budget is really important. And so if you have the money and you need something a little bit more, maybe the Intel Xeon system is something that you want to look into. Or if you're budget minded and you need something not a lot lighter, maybe the AMD embedded system, the AMD A system, A6, A8, A10s. There's plenty of processors, APUs is what they're calling them, application program unit, which basically combines your processor and your video card on the same chip, which is pretty neat. So in this video, I'm not going to be saying specific processors and what you should be looking for, but just being aware of what's out there and what's available. I'll put plenty of links in the description of different places you could look, and there's going to be a lot of research that you're going to have to do. And so you're going to choose your processor based on your needs. And so for our server, what I've done is I've identified a processor that I want to use, a processor that I've had good success with in the past, and something that I wanted to use because it had a little bit more power. It is a desktop processor, and it is an AMD FX. And I'm going to be going with the 6300, which is a 6-core or a 3 modules processor that has 2 cores per module, so it's 6 cores total, and that runs really well. And so after you've chosen your processor has a specific socket that it uses, how it plugs into the main board, and that's going to help you choose what your motherboard is. So once you've chosen your processor, it tells you what your socket is, and then you can go and choose your motherboard. And that's what I've done. I've gone ahead and chosen a gigabyte motherboard that suits our needs. So how do you choose a motherboard? Once again, I said you're going to take your socket that you've chosen for your processor, and that's where you start. And from there, you could start filling out your needs. Are you looking for a lot of RAM? Do you need a lot of memory in your system for it to be accessed by whatever software that you're going to be using? So you're going to be looking at if it has 2 slots or 4 slots for RAM. And then on top of that, what are you looking for storage? Are you going to be using just all external storage? Does it have a lot of USB ports on the back? Are you looking for USB 3 support? Check for that. How about your hard drives? How many SATA plugs does it have native on the board so that you don't have to go out and purchase an add-in PCI Express slot card to expand your storage needs? And also RAID, onboard RAID. There's most of the computer chips nowadays, the motherboard chips out there have built-in support for RAID, but they don't support all levels of RAID. Maybe they support just 0 and 1. And we'll talk about this more in another video about your drive setup and how your storage is set up. But being cognizant of all those things is really figure out what you want ahead and then look for it on all these, whether it's in a retail store or if it's on a website. And so going through those drill down and those search options on those websites will help you to see what is available in your price range. So once we've chosen our board based upon our requirements for our processor, what we need for RAM and basically expansion slots, we've looked at our rear I/O and made sure that we're able to connect our monitors and everything that we need. We're going to choose our RAM. So now we have our motherboard and our processor. Now we need to provide memory to it. And a good thing to do nowadays is to stay above 4 gigabytes of RAM. As you know, technology gets cheaper and more affordable, and prices of storage continue to come down, even after current events with what's happened in Southeast Asia. I believe with the RAM factories, they've been slowed down. So RAM prices and hard drive prices were increasing there for a while. Now they've pretty much stabilized. Is that you need to continue to have enough RAM so that in the future you're not saying, oh, I really wish I would have doubled it. Buy as much RAM as you could afford right now. That is the best practice. A lot of people realize that the more RAM that you give a system, the faster it can run. It's the cheapest way to upgrade your computer. So make sure you put as much RAM as you possibly can now. Value RAM versus high performance RAM. What are your specific needs? Like I said, as a file server, we really don't need super expensive low latency RAM. We just chose regular Kingston RAM that CAS latency 9, that basically allows us to have enough RAM, 8 gigabytes for what we're going to be doing. And make sure that your operating system is going to address that RAM. A lot of people will go out and buy 16 gigabytes of RAM and then buy a 32-bit operating system, and the 32-bit operating system isn't even able to utilize or address that much RAM. So make sure your operating system will be able to address all that RAM. So for a video card, are you going to even need a video card? For our system, we are not going to be using a dedicated video card right now because of the operating system we've chosen. And that being said, we really don't need to be using it for rendering or anything like that. And so the onboard video is plenty for what we're going to be doing. We're not even going to have a monitor attached to this thing. It's going to be all controlled through VNC and remote desktop. So whatever you need, if you're going to be using your server to render, you're going to need a video card. You're going to want a video card so that your server could access the video card cores to help render a lot quicker. So make sure you understand what your requirements are. Maybe sit down, put a list together of all the software that you're going to be using on your server, the purposes you're going to be using it for, and then start to do your research from there. Okay, so that's it for this video. In this video we talked about choosing your motherboard, starting with your processor, fitting it out with the appropriate RAM, and if you really need a video card. Most important thing to do is to understand what your requirements are and then go and do the research. In this video we did not cover the specifics of what you absolutely need to look for, but what you need to do is really do your research. And the more research you do, the more you'll understand that you don't need to spend a ton of money to really accomplish what you need. So thanks again for watching this video. This has been part 3, all about power under the hood. In the next video series, we're going to be talking about the most important part of our server, and that is how we're going to structure our storage system. So my name is Joe from MetroPhotog.com. If you have any questions, make sure you put it in the comments below. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more server videos related to our server build, and also all the other photography related videos that we do, including the Monday show. Check out MetroPhotog.com to take a look at the most important work that we do, and that is our photography. Also, if you have any other questions or would like to send us something else, you could go over to MetroPhotog.com/contact, where you can fill out the form and it'll send it right to our inbox. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.